Our next speaker is Craig Fisher from Allegis Global Solutions. Craig is the marketing and employer brand leader at Allegis. His digital branding methods have been adopted as best practices by companies like LinkedIn, Zappos, Yum Brands, Hootsuite, CA Technologies, and many more. He's the author of Inbound Recruiting and a popular keynote speaker at tech, social media, HR, recruiting, and sales conferences worldwide. Craig created the first Twitter chat for recruiters and partnered in the first LinkedIn certified training company in North America. Craig's presentation today is called Humanize the Message, What Your Social Content Says to Candidates. He's going to teach us how we can put out a more human message through our own social media channels, as well as work with our employees to become brand advocates for our companies. Please welcome to Rally Forward, Craig Fisher.
Hi, I'm Craig Fisher. This is What Your Social Content Says to Candidates for the Rally Forward Conference. I am the head of marketing and employer brand for Allegis Global Solutions. I'm also an employer branding consultant, and I host the TalentNet conferences in Austin and Dallas every year for the recruiting industry. You can find me at FishDogs on Twitter and Instagram and just about everywhere else, and I have my blog at fishdogs.com. And welcome, glad you're here. So what we're going to talk about today is how to be more human, the 5-to-1 give to ask content ratio, and employee branding versus employer branding, because as we all know, job candidates interact with employees better than they do brands, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that better and how to get employee engagement to get candidate experience raised up and a better experience overall. And we're going to learn today of several ways and some tools that you can make all of this happen easily and more efficiently. So the number one thing that we know from lots of candidate data and candidate experience awards survey data is that candidates like interacting with people, right? They don't want to just interact with a brand. They don't want it to be an automated experience for them completely. They don't mind doing some things that are automated to be more efficient, but they like constant communication. They like lots of feedback. And so the human element of what you put out there in the world on your social channels as far as content goes is really what connects you to candidates before they even decide whether or not to apply. So I recommend that you encourage your staff. Start with the recruiting team because they're very candidate facing, and then work on hiring managers, salespeople, customer service. The HR team, they tend to try to be a little more behind the scenes, but they should be out there. Work on these teams to really share some of their personal selves and some of the company's culture on a regular basis with their online audience. Everyone's networks in your organization, they don't completely overlap like this. They're really only like this. So every time someone in your organization shares something interesting or personal, their contact information is on their profiles, right? Who they work for, what they do. And so their audience sees your brand every time your people share something, whether it's personal or professional. So we're going to work on how to make the personal part more interesting and more consistent. And one of the ways is to really be human. So these are my kids. These are my actual kids. This is not clip art. And they're here to demonstrate one of my very important tenets, and that is that you should have about 3 things that you feel comfortable sharing about yourself that are personal on a regular basis. right? So if you just share corporate information all the time about your company, you're going to lose your audience. So, here's the thing. If I meet you at a party or a conference and I say, hey, I'm Craig Fisher, I'm the head of employer branding at Allegis Global Solutions and the chief marketing officer, nice to meet you, and then I move on. And then you meet another me that says, hey, I'm Craig, how are you doing? I've got 3 kids. We live by Grapevine Lake outside of Dallas, Texas. We love the water. We're on the boat all the time. If you find me on Instagram at Fish Dogs, you can see really fun pictures of us. Anyway, also, I'm the CMO and employer branding SME at Allegis Global Solutions. Nice to meet you. You're much more likely to remember the second me than the first me, right? And that works even online. So even in places like LinkedIn, you can share something slightly personal about yourself in your summary, and that attaches you better to your audience, to any prospective candidate or customer, than just having the bullet pointed facts about your job or about your company. So these are my things, right? These are my things that I feel comfortable sharing online on a regular basis, and you can come back to them. But with my kids, this is an interesting example because they are never called by name online by me. So you'll never find their names anywhere on anything that I post, although I shamelessly use them for marketing purposes all over the internet. They're only ever called numbers 1, 2, and 3 sons. So you want to get into a habit of sharing things that are more gives than asks. And I'll explain that a little bit. So sharing pictures of your kids or your hobbies or sharing your culture is a give. Sharing an interesting article from Inc. magazine or Forbes or another online news source that's not about your company but is helpful to your network is a give. We're hiring, apply to this job, or refer someone, or read our white paper, or read our blog post. Those are all asks. So you want to give 5 times to build trust in your network on a regular basis. And then every once in a while, oh, by the way, we're hiring. And in those gives, you want to make sure that there's something slightly personal about you consistently every once in a while. And once you get into this habit of give, and oh, by the way, we're hiring, more gives, you'll remember, oh, I need to share something slightly personal about myself to connect with my audience. It can't just be culture stuff from the office all the time or interesting articles from other news sources. It needs to be something slightly personal about you occasionally as well. So we have a pretend job candidate here, David Zhao, or not job candidate. He's going to be an HR person. So he's an HR business partner. And one thing you'll notice about his LinkedIn profile is right in his headline, it tells his mission, what he's currently doing. Currently hiring DevOps managers for great jobs in Plano, Texas. So it does have his title, sort of an abbreviated version of his title. But it also tells the audience what he's doing. So anytime he posts something online on LinkedIn or comments on somebody else's content, you're going to see his photo and his headline. So that's almost like a free job advertisement every time he posts something or engages in someone else's content on LinkedIn. This is a great trick, but it's also really good for search engine optimization. So search engines use a thing called proximity to link terms together. So what you want to have close together in your headline, especially because that's the most SEO friendly part of your whole profile, is keywords, right? Near locations, near your name, right? So that's all right there in the headline, his name and his location and the words, hiring DevOps managers for great jobs in Plano, Texas. So that word jobs is really key here. If you are going to search for jobs online, you wouldn't just search for DevOps manager in Google. You'd search for DevOps manager jobs in a specific location like Plano, Texas. That word jobs actually should be in your headline and in several places throughout your LinkedIn profile. It's the number one search term for jobs, and it's the number one term that most talent acquisition professionals don't have in their own profiles. So the other thing you'll notice is right in David's summary towards the bottom, it says, personally, I'm an animal lover and a travel junkie. And then he has some hashtags, and he's got lots of keywords in there as well. So the interesting thing about that is, yes, you can have something personal in your summary, and you should also repeat your keywords in multiple places. I actually have a keyword cloud at the bottom of my summary and at the bottom of each of my jobs. And this is something that LinkedIn actually really likes, that I developed and LinkedIn put a name to. They call it job tagging. And they actually had my team teach the LinkedIn sales teams across the US how to do this stuff, which is fun. But it really works for SEO. If you go to Google and search for things like LinkedIn Training Dallas or Employer Brand Strategy Dallas, you'll find Craig Fisher's LinkedIn profile. And that's all organic SEO and LinkedIn magic, which is fun. So all of your employees can do this. And so if you want to rank highly as an organization for DevOps manager jobs in Plano, Texas, if you get several people to say that on their LinkedIn profiles, in their headlines, and multiple other places on their profiles, the whole organization will start to come up higher in search results for that sort of thing. But it also tells your candidates, something personal about you in your profile, right? And that really shows that you're sort of wanting to engage with people and you're open. And it also shares the mission very quickly. So you can change this as often as you like for different types of jobs. And Google and other search engines like fresh content. So changing things on a regular basis is great. Okay, so who do you want to attract to your organization? How do we understand who our audience is? And how then do we talk to them through the content that we share and our online activities? I use a tool called an empathy map. This is a design thinking workshop that you can do with your recruiting team, and it's pretty fun. So the object is to actually understand who your perfect candidate is. How do they go through their day? What do they see in the world? Do they see their phone when they wake up first thing in the morning? Are they looking at Facebook? Are they looking at the weather? What other things are they looking at? If you understand who the person is, you can start to understand sort of what they think and feel and do, how they talk to their friends, what might be important to them about a job. Is it prestige or is it money? Is it location? Do they need to be near family? Right? Age groups and demographics can tell you these things, right? Also, you have to try to intimate what are their needs, what are their pains, and then how in the online content that you share can you share things about your organization that sort of answer those needs, right? So if you have great benefits for working mothers and your purple squirrel unicorn candidate is a 27-year-old Latina engineering grad, then you might want to emphasize some great benefits because at some point in that time frame, they might be interested in having a family, might already have a family, or they might still be close to home with their own family. But you'll have some benefits or some part of your culture that will be interesting to that candidate. And so when you know who the person is, you can then share things on a regular basis to attract them on certain channels. And we also know now that we can target advertising to geography and other demographics. We have to kind of be careful about doing that for age groups, okay, because there's some lawsuits going on right now about that. But you can write ads better to attract those age groups rather than targeting specific age groups and excluding others. With your audience targeting, you can write the ads to better attract those folks. Tools like Textio can actually help you do that. So your culture message and the content that you put out in the world makes that candidate experience more personal to them. It makes it more interesting to them about your company because you're being very specific once you understand who they are. Empathy map. So you'll want to do this. You'll put this on a board, on a whiteboard, or on a projection screen, and have your team actually use multicolored sticky notes and Sharpies and write words that you can put in all the quadrants to answer the questions in each quadrant. It's a great exercise. Your team will love it. Take pictures of who your different personas are once you have all the sticky notes up there, and then you'll have record of this is kind of how we decided what the personas are that we need to attract. Okay, so the next step is to get your people talking. Your employees are much more valuable as a source of information than your website. Okay, people listen to people more than they listen to brands. That's just a fact. And so the idea is if you can get some employee advocacy going, the candidate experience is better because they can actually hear from actual people in your organization who seem engaged and interested in their work and that they like their job. And there's a benefit to this for your people when you do it. If you actually follow that 5-to-1 give to ask content ratio, if you share content with your employees to then share with their networks, they're going to be building trust and thought leadership in their own networks by sharing 5 gives and then every once in a while an ask, instead of just, hey, share this about the company, hey, share this job, hey, share this about the company, hey, share this job, hey, share this blog post. Give them some other things to share, interesting third-party articles that will help their network do their jobs better or find a job better. Encourage them to share photos with their employees, pictures of their desk. One of the most interesting things to job candidates about any office environment is a picture of someone's desk, interestingly enough. Make sure there's no proprietary information on your desk when you share that photo, but maybe on your monitor screen there is an open job rec, right? Free job advertisement right there every time you share the picture of your desk. Fun stuff. So I was the head of employer branding. I was a TA leader at a big software company called CA Technologies for a few years. And we had some really tough challenges. So CA was a legacy software company. They had rebranded from Computer Associates to CA Technologies. And a lot of candidates, younger candidates especially, just weren't making the connection. It says California Technologies, who is this? And it's that legacy software company and they're old and stodgy. But the company's trying to become more of a cloud organization. And they're doing a good job of it technically, right, with the software that they're making. But getting that candidate connection was tough. And so they'd had a reputation for a while of being kind of a churn shop, and some of it was valid, some of it wasn't. They, grow by acquisition like most software companies. So I had to go in and find the interesting things about the culture that would resonate with the candidates we were trying to attract. And what I found was that the people who have been in the organization for a while are rabid fans of the company, and for good reason, because the company does some really great things for diversity and for internal culture, and some really great benefits for working dads, working moms. They have pet benefits and pretty amazing vacation benefits as well. So interesting, pet benefits. When you get a new pet, if you request it at a certain link on the intranet of the organization, you get a free day of socialization with your new pet. So you get a day off for that. And you get a day of bereavement if you request it when you lose a pet. Wow. Pretty cool. So we would also, if people requested that, send them a pet bundle. So this is a bag of, fairly inexpensive but CA branded tchotchkes for your pet. A bandana, dog bowl, tennis ball thrower, things like that. And we'd also send a little card that says, hey, congratulations on your new pet. And if you're going to share photos online, we'd love to share with you and celebrate with you. Tag us at Life at CA so that we can see as well if you want to. Not that you have to, but if you want to. And then we did the same thing for new babies, new homes. And the magic was the card that said, hey, congratulations. And if you're going to share photos of your new home or your new child or your summer vacation, we want to celebrate with you. Tag us at Life at CA. And the result was people did. So we didn't really have to do much to get people doing this. It just naturally happened. And so what we found was lots of people sharing with hashtag Life at CA. And then we would go find their photos because of the hashtag and repost some of the best ones to our Instagram and Twitter accounts, our corporate Instagram and Twitter accounts, and even to Facebook, and kind of give the employee who did the posting in the first place some recognition this way. And there's CA branded swag all over pets and kids and summer vacations, all over the CA Life at CA Instagram page, which is really fun. We also created a thing called Refer a Friend Day. So Refer a Friend Day was not even an official thing. We just made it up. We didn't really even ask permission. We just did it. And we sent out some emails and some internal Yammer communications saying, hey, April 21st is Refer a Friend Day. So on April 21st, don't forget to refer your friends to Life at CA. And then came the day, and we posted a bunch of fun pictures about referring your friends. And lo and behold, we got a whole bunch more referrals on that day than we do on most normal days. And it worked great. So just sharing content can be really great for the candidate experience, because what we found was it was candidates calling their friends who worked at that organization who saw this campaign and said, hey, refer me to your company today. It's Refer a Friend Day. So we're connecting with candidates as we're encouraging our employees to communicate. It's fun. So I really feel like the terminology should be employee brand instead of employer brand. So we all hear about employer branding, but I think that we have to encourage our employees to brand themselves better as well. And I think by doing that, we then connect with our candidates a lot better, and that experience becomes more human for them. So I'm trying to do sort of a similar thing. We started a new Instagram account at Allegis Global Solutions. So I was an Allegis employee at CA Technologies. We do their RPO recruiting there. And then I got pulled out of CA Technologies once I'd done that for a couple of years and proved some cases to be the head of marketing and employer brand at Allegis. And now I help all of Allegis's customers do this great stuff. And so I wanted the cobbler's kids to wear shoes, right? So we needed to start our own Instagram account and start building that. And so I started doing some employee advocacy there, and we just started having contests. So one week would be tell us about your summer vacation. One week would be post something about health and wellness, and nothing official, not even any real gifts, just some acknowledgement online. And again, using the repost app to repost our employees' photos. And it's working great. Our numbers are growing, and people all over the world are sharing. And we're hearing from candidates that they really like this because they can really see inside the organization better now. So some tools that we use to also give our employees some other interesting things to talk about that they can share online are tools like Write Relevance. So you can go on your desktop to writerelevance.com, and there's a mobile app as well, and you can input topics, and then it will show you the most popular articles in your network about those topics. And then you can just click to share those articles. You can schedule them in the future or share them right then, and it'll show you how many people have engaged with those topics and who in your network has shared it. And it really works great to give your employees some other interesting things. So if you have an employee advocacy platform, we use a tool called Everyone Social at Allegis. We used Q Social, which is now Symphony Talent at CA Technologies. There's a dozen good ones, and they're pretty similar. But you want to share things with your employees to push out to their networks through these employee advocacy platforms. But it shouldn't just all be about your company. Again, remember that 5-to-1 give to ask ratio. Share other things that will help them build thought leadership and trust in their networks. That's the what's in it for me for your employees when you ask them to share things. Okay, another tool that I use to help find really interesting content about my industry or about jobs or about job hunting is a tool called Crowdfire. And this is like a marketing team in your pocket. It's great. So again, you can input topics. It'll push out to you the most interesting articles about those topics. And it will also notify you on your phone when you're out of content. So when you share content from the app, you can share it into a queue and it will post it at the most relevant time throughout the week. And so I load mine up every Sunday and I usually have enough to get through the week. But if I don't, it'll tell me on Thursday, hey, you're out of content and you should push more stuff. And if you link your own blog and YouTube account to the app, it'll also remind you every once in a while, hey, promote your own stuff as well. It's a really great app, Crowdfire. Okay, so let's talk about Facebook real quick. Your employees are going to be on Facebook. That's just kind of a fact. If they're not, that's fine. But if you get the question, should I have a separate professional Facebook profile for interacting with job candidates or customers, things like that, versus my own personal profile? My answer is you can if you want, but you're not going to get as good of engagement on your professional profile as you do on the one where people actually get to know you. And so I say just encourage your employees to keep their own personal Facebook profiles pretty clean, because we all know Facebook has holes in it. And so anything you post there could potentially get leaked out. And most of us good recruiters and sourcers can find that stuff anyway on people's personal profiles. So if you use Facebook groups to sort of track some of this fun stuff, the HR open source group is a good example. People share really great information about a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, case studies about how to do things in HR. And it's just open source information. If you find something that you really like, you can click on the dots next to that subject and save that conversation so you can find it later. And the way to go back and find it is to go to facebook.com/saved, and you'll find all your saved conversations there. All right, so let's talk about chatbots. We know we need to be human, but can we automate some of the process so that the candidates experience constant communication, even if it's not necessarily always with a real person, and make their experience more efficient? And the answer is yes, we can, and chatbots are doing it very well right now. So at Allegis, we have a customer called DXC Technology. They're a massive software implementation firm. And we put a chatbot called Olivia, it's by Paradox.ai, on their careers site. And when you go to their careers site, it'll pop up and ask you if you have any questions. And you can ask all kinds of things about the company's culture, team sizes, things like that. And it really answers. At first, the answers were more rudimentary because the database wasn't full of knowledge yet. But very quickly, it grew and grew. And so now it will do things like even start automating the referral process. I actually surveyed job candidates to find out how comfortable they are with the chatbot process, automating some of the activities that they would do in a job application. And most people are very comfortable interacting with chatbots, but there's a small percentage that are still very uncomfortable. So that tells us that high touch is really still more important than high tech, right? We can automate some things, but we really still need that candidate connection for the candidates to feel good about the experience. So the answer is be human, right? That's the goal. That's what makes the candidate experience tick. Remember, high touch still beats high tech. And if you can encourage your employees to be more human online, right? Share great content, the 5-to-1 give to ask ratio, and give them something for them to feel better about making their network more knowledgeable and being thought leaders in their network. Job candidates will see this. They'll see engaged employees. They'll see the human side of your organization. And that makes their experience with the organization and even the application process much better. So that's all we have for today for this section. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Rally Forward, for having me. See me at fishdogs.com and at fishdogs on Twitter and Instagram. Hope you'll connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Nice to see you. Cheers.